Hello everybody, today we are going to be doing one of the last steps necessary before we turbo this truck, which is removing, rebuilding, and reinstalling the manual transmission. The reason we're doing that is because there's some slop in it. The synchros, you can tell, are starting to go, and there's some slop whenever you let up on the throttle. So I think there's play in the bearings. You can grab the drive shaft. You can hear that noise coming from inside the transmission. So I think we'll take it apart. We'll find some bad bearings. I have a rebuild kit. We'll put in new synchros, new bearings, and everything. So first thing we got to do is remove it. We'll get started. First thing we got to do is get this shift boot out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts and get it out. These are actually screws. These are Phillips screws. Half of these are stripped, but got to get them out anyway. That's a lot of stuff. Alright, so two 10mm bolts will remove our shift knob. Mine's a little bit different because this is a custom billet shift knob. Next thing we're going to do is get a Torx bit and undo these 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts to remove our shift handle, whatever you want to call this. We'll just pull up on this guy, make sure all the pieces come out, and then we're going to go grab a towel to put this in so that we don't get transmission fluid all over the cab. Alright, so next you got to drain your transmission fluid. It's this little it's the wrong size thing. Okay, so this is going to be a 3/8, not a 1/2 inch. Get that on there. The trick is you push on this until you feel those threads stop, and then pull down. Alright, now we'll just try not to get this all over ourselves. Put this back in just to not make any more mess. Alright, next thing we're going to loosen the drive shaft. So on both sides, there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 little nuts that you got to undo. We'll just break them loose. These are, since I recently did this job less than a year ago, we just got to break these loose and then we can loosen them by hand, thankfully. These are greasable U-joints too. That's stuff that I should have done. Next up on stuff that I should have done. Okay, next we're going to take out these two 9/16 bolts which hold our drive shaft in the center since it's a 2-piece drive shaft. Do the same thing on the transmission side. This is a H10 socket, and this is, socket, sure, H10 little hex steel, and this is a Harbor Freight jack. We're going to convert this into a low profile transmission jack. So first, we'll unbolt this, take this off, and then we made this with just a piece of plywood, and then we put a piece of metal on the back of it, and then we'll set this down just like that. We'll put this on top of it, and then we've just turned this into a transmission jack. Two deep socket 3/4 inch bolts hold the transmission mount to the cross member. This Milwaukee electric ratchet will really help with this job because there's no clearance between the frame right here and the rest of the body. So you have this wrench, which this is 5/8, which you have to get on the other side, and then we'll use this. The Milwaukee cordless ratchet comes in handy a lot, especially in situations like these where, let's pretend this is a regular ratchet, and these are fuel lines and electrical wires, so we want to be careful, but you can barely turn it. So we'll get after loosening it with a regular socket, we'll just get in here. Makes very quick work of awkward positions. Okay, next we jacked up the transmission and unbolted the transmission mount, which we will be replacing because, as you can see, over time the rubber in this wears out. So now we'll just pull on this cross member. Try not to snag this wiring. There's part of it. There's the other part. And the cross member's out. Okay, next thing we're going to do is remove this. This is our speedometer cable. There's a little gear in there that spins, which spins this cable inside here, which makes the speedometer work. This is a 7/16 bolt. We want to have a rag handy because sometimes a little bit of fluid will come out whenever we remove this. Just a little bit of wiggling. And there we go. And then this gear just spins, and that's what makes the speedometer work. Next we'll unplug our reverse lights, which is just this connector right here. This wire that goes to the transmission will stay with it. Stay with the transmission. Okay, next we're going to take out this clutch line, and this actually still has this plastic piece on it. Sometimes it'll break off, in which case you'll need a tool, but you just push that in until it clicks, and then with some wiggling that'll come out, and then that's going to start leaking, so we'll get a rag.
Rolling.
Okay. Next we're going to unscrew these these half-inch bolts. There's one on the other side, but this is the one that's easiest to film. This is between the engine and transmission. This just holds the plate between the engine and transmission. This doesn't hold the transmission. Try to zoom out so that they can see kind of where this is. This is the engine oil pan, and this is the transmission for reference. We've already unbolted the starter. Unfortunately, that was very difficult to film, so we didn't do it because due to the exhaust setup I have, it's wedged up in there and it's very difficult to see. I can't even see it. I just had to blind eye it. Alright, next we're going to remove the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I believe 6, which you cannot see, transmission bolts. These are what hold the transmission to the engine. If you go to your parts store, you can usually find these really long extensions, which are very useful for this. Unfortunately, this is the part that we were unable to get on camera because I needed everybody in order to help me, and there was no one left to man the camera. So, after we removed the engine and transmission bolts, lots of wiggling, we were finally able to separate the transmission from the engine, and then lots of maneuvering with the jack to clear the exhaust, to clear the frame, and to keep it from hitting and putting a hole in the floorboard. We were finally able to get the transmission out. So, here it is. Well, that's it for this video. You can see there's definitely a problem. So wait for part 2. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see part 2 and you want to follow my build series on this truck, which after rebuilding this, we're going to be rebuilding the engine and turboing the engine, as well as continuing and completing a full performance build for the engine in this truck. So don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Let's hope we can fix it.